All right, let's take a look at the second part, Dulce et Decorum Est. Now, if you've watched it, you know that this one is a bit sadder poem, okay? Dulce et Decorum Est is a Latin phrase meaning it is sweet and proper. Uh, as soon as you read this poem, you realize that sweet and proper is not what we're really talking about. We're talking about war again. So I want you to make a prediction about Owen's opinion of war based on the first two lines, okay? Bent double like old beggars under sacks, knock-kneed, coughing like hags, we cursed through sludge. Do you think it's a positive or a negative opinion of war? Write that down. Most of you probably guessed negative, especially since we can look at words like beggars, knock-kneed, coughing, hags, cursed, sludge. All of these words definitely have negative connotations and show he has a negative opinion. As we read through, we're going to notice that the next question is about a change in tone. So we need to pay close attention to the tone of this stanza and then how it changes once we get to that line. So till on haunting flares we turned our backs and towards our distant rest began to trudge. Men marched to sleep, many had lost their boots but limped on, bloodshod. All went lame, all blind, drunk with fatigue, deaf even to the hoots of gas shells dropping softly behind. Gas, gas, quick, boys, an ecstasy of fumbling, fitting the clumsy helmets just in time. So we notice in this stanza we get things like marching asleep, drunk with fatigue, deaf, trudging. It's very slow, it's very tired tone. As soon as we get to the gas part, suddenly it becomes urgent and excited and very quick paced. We need to move kind of thing. So we go from tired to urgent very quickly. For this next part, what's happening in these lines, we're going to be focusing on trying to comprehend the imagery that Owen is placing for us. So, but someone still was yelling out and stumbling, and floundering like a man in fire or lime, dim through the misty panes and thick green light, as under a green sea I saw him drowning. In all my dreams, before my helpless sight, he plunges at me, guttering, choking, drowning. So as we look at each line, we see that there's a man who's yelling out. He's stumbling, he's moving around, he's floundering. So think about it as like flopping as he's trying to breathe like a man in fire or lime, and he's just struggling. They're watching through the misty panes of their gas masks and the thick green light that comes after the light tries to go through the gas. Under a green sea, that's what it feels like when they're surrounded by the gas. I saw him drowning. In all my dreams, before my helpless sight, there's nothing he can do. He plunges at me, guttering, choking, drowning. This man did not get his gas mask on in time, or if he did, maybe there was a leak in it. He's dying from mustard gas. What happens is it mixes with the moisture in your lungs and turns to acid. Your lungs start to fill with blood and you choke on your own blood. It is a horrible way to go. It is considered inhumane, and we don't use it in wars anymore because it was such an awful weapon during World War One. But we see here, as we get to see our author refer to himself in the first person, as I see him drowning in my dreams, my helpless sight, he plunges at me. The author was there. He knows what he's talking about. He was a witness. This isn't just some idea he's talking about. He was there. So we need to keep that in mind, especially as we'll look at the end. This author was there. So then he starts to address someone else. If in some smothering dreams you too could pace, we need to think, who is that you? Who would he be talking to? At this moment, we can guess pretty firmly that it's not people who are in the war with him. They watched it too. They don't need to know what happened. They don't need to be reminded. This is for the people who aren't at war, the people who are still back home, the people who are still thinking, yay, go our brave soldiers. This is for the people who think that they've got heroes out there, when really what they have is guttering, choking, drowning men kind of thing. He paints this image for us, and I want you to pay close attention. How do you think he wants you to feel after giving this description? If you two could pace behind the wagon that we flung him in and watch the white eyes writhing in his face, his hanging face, like a devil's sick of sin. If you could hear at every jolt the blood come gargling from the froth corrupted lungs, obscene as cancer, bitter as the cud, of vile, incurable sores on innocent tongues. Okay, picturing this man dying in the back of a wagon, and every time they hit a bump, more of that bubbly, frothy blood from his lungs being eaten away by the acid starts to come out. His eyes are writhing. Is he alive or is he already dead? There's still twitching going on. We don't really know. Is he suffering? What's going on? There's incurable sores on his tongue. We've got obscene as cancer. It's disgusting. You should be horrified. You should be absolutely revolted by what you are seeing here. This is not okay. You should feel very disturbed when you think of this scene, okay? And then he says, "My friend, you would not tell with such high zest meaning like, energy or enthusiasm, to children ardent for some desperate glory." They're like, they are desperate to earn their own glory. The old lie, Dulce et decorum est, pro patria mori. So in that time, that means, well, in Latin, it means it is sweet and proper to die for your country. And that's what they would teach them. You want to go to war. You want to earn that honor. You want to be brave and be a hero for your country. Dying for them is good. You really giving your all to your country. It's expected of you. Wow, what a hero. But what he's saying is no. No, it's not. It is not sweet and proper. There is nothing about war that is sweet and proper. So we're going to look for at least 5 words in the poem that he uses to prove that. There's a lot, especially here in this blue one. I mean, we've got incurable. That's not sweet or proper. Obscene. That is not sweet or proper. Corrupted. Devils. Guttering. We've got clumsiness in here. Drunk. We've got haunting, hags, all of these things, none of these things are showing sweet and proper. These are all things that are quite the opposite. So those are good evidence that Owen's theme is that war is not sweet and proper. So when we come down here to write the theme, remember we need to start with a claim. The theme of the poem is, and we need to come up with a theme. Now it's pretty clear at the end. He's addressing us and telling us what he wants us to learn. Like, stop telling kids that it is proper and sweet to die for your country. That's his basic theme. Something else that you could do with it is, like, there is nothing sweet and proper about war, or war is horrifying and horrible, not sweet and proper. All of those would be really good themes, and there's tons of evidence for them. I mean, the fact that we have all those words that we just looked for, those would all show the theme, and you could explain, like, oh, when he says vile, incurable sores, this shows how horrible war is, because incurable means that this is something that's never going to fix because he's dead. It's something that could never get fixed. Or you could look at like a devil's sick of sin. If a devil is sick of sin, this is something that devils are always sinning. And if he can't even do what devils are supposed to do, his entire life, his purpose, it's ending. It's horrible. Like, he's just let go. So there's lots of different lines that you can choose to analyze. Make sure you use at least 2 pieces of evidence, and you should be good to go. Now, for this last part, I'm not going to make you write a paragraph about it, but I do just want you to think. If a young man came up to Tennyson and to Owen and said, "Should I join the army?" what would they say? It's a little sad because, I mean, Owen died in the war. He never would get the chance to talk to this young man. But what would he say if he were still around? Once you finish this assignment, you can go ahead and click submit.